I'm just gonna come out and say that most of the dating advice we have nowadays is garbage. Even though the days of Fresh and Fate are long behind us, we're still not out of the dark yet. When it comes to dating advice for young people, the internet is definitely not the best place to be looking. But unfortunately for a lot of Gen Z, that's all we've got. And even more unfortunate is the fact that on the internet there are a lot of grifters who just want to profit off people's insecurities. In most social media sites, we have what's known as an attention economy. That means that whatever gets promoted by the algorithms is just what gets people's attention. It doesn't take a genius to know that the stuff that usually goes viral on the internet isn't the best or smartest information. You see this a lot with dating advice especially. Whether it be from men, women, the left, the right, whatever. It's obvious that most of this advice comes from people who have been hurt by some partner in the past who now project their hatred for that ex onto every single person of the same gender. Back in the day, aka like last year, the red pill was what most men were listening to. Unfortunately, even now, there's still some people pushing the red pill in big 2024, but it's mostly just an afterthought. These guys used to make a living off just starting podcasts and yelling at women for like an hour straight. The funniest part about these guys is the fact that they got strippers and OnlyFans models to represent the female gender. Like, of course it makes sense that people who see intimate activities as just a transaction would also see a relationship the same way. Also, the idea that you have to be the richest, buffest, smartest man in the room before you can even think of looking at a woman is really stupid. Since most of the people consuming their content are pretty young and probably in Gen Z or Gen Alpha even, God forbid, stuff like money and status doesn't really matter for us when it comes to getting dates. To be honest, it does matter more as you get older, but it has diminishing returns. Like, let's look at Tom Brady for an example. He's what red pillars would consider your typical chat, despite having every attribute that a red pillar would want a man to have. His wife still cheated on him with a guy who's shorter and worse looking. This may come as a surprise to them, but there's more to a relationship besides just paying for stuff and looking pretty. Even the left-leaning, non-red pill advice is pretty trash as well. They'll tell you stuff like, just be yourself, and all that other stuff. Now, if yourself is someone who doesn't get hugs, it's just gonna keep the cycle going. Even the little amount of female dating advice that I've seen is pretty trash. First off, I don't even know why women need dating advice, since men are the ones who do like 90% of the heavy lifting when starting relationships. Anyways, the problem with the female dating advice that I've personally seen is the fact that it only focuses on what the man can do for the woman. For some reason, a lot of women today think that all they need to do to have a successful relationship is just show up, and that all the problems are probably caused by the man. Am I the only one who finds it awfully strange and convenient that all these women say they have exes who are, quote-unquote, master manipulators and gaslighters? Something isn't adding up. Worse than everything I've mentioned up until this point is by far the blackmail. It's basically just the idea that looks are pretty much the only thing that matter when it comes to a relationship. I want to do a more in-depth video on physical appearance and looks, but that's for another time, so I won't go that deep in this video. While I will admit that looks matter a lot more than people give it credit, the idea that it solely determines success with dates is just cap. Let's just use our brains for this. The idea that good-looking men are the only ones getting into relationships is just not statistically possible. You don't need model-tier looks for girls to find you attractive. Believe me, I know. 90% of the guys I know in real life who are in relationships would also just be rated as normal by like these black pillars. But I'm not gonna gaslight you guys though. It definitely gets your foot in the door. Even though most of the dating advice we have nowadays is about as good as Gal Gadot's acting, there is still some stuff out there worth listening to. There are a few helpful and non-toxic people spreading good advice for the boys and the girls out there. It's just up to you to make the decision, to be honest.